The Minister of Information, Culture Affairs and Tourism, Minister Jerolinmek, Matthew Piah, is here in studio. Minister, I'd like to say good morning to you again. How are you?
Yeah, good morning. I'm okay. I'm okay. Good to see you. And thanks for what you do on State Radio. Good to be here.
The last time you were here was March 4, right?
Well, I wouldn't quite remember, but I know I was here when you were joined by Kevin Demi and Clarence Jackson. If that's the time you're talking about.
Yep.
Yes, I may not have paid much attention to the date, but good to be back. I think that's what is most important.
So I'm going to begin with a very simple question. The last time we spoke, we are putting in perspective or in context government's communication strategy. It's been since March, since you took over at the ministry. I just want to ask whether you think that, whether you are impressed with the implementation of government's communication strategy, as per how you lay that out.
So what we expressed was basically some thoughts on how we will go about in terms of a comprehensive national government communication strategy is still in the works. We had conversations with some of our partners, including the U.S. Embassy near Monrovia. They opted to provide for us some expertise that will come and help guide our process. So we're doing that. In the short term, what we've worked on is a policy, one government, one people, one platform, policy of communication. And the goal about that is, sometimes everybody wants to be a spokesperson for government, even though we all got different responsibilities. And you see this kind of entanglement of people wanting, in good faith, I'm not sure anybody doing it, but they just want to help complement. But if it is not properly managed and coordinated, then it's a problem. So when you heard the president say he believes he has a competent and energized Ministry of Information that should lead government communication, and was therefore calling on all of his officials at the recent commissioning ceremony that he will now run his government on Facebook and on different radio talk shows, and that they should utilize the national platform. It was also part of the concern that those kinds of uncoordinated interventions all across government can sometimes be confusing. And so we try to put that under control in the short run, and then the very strategic and comprehensive communication strategy is being worked on.
So that means nothing is being implemented yet?
Well, something is being implemented because the Ministry of Information was established by law, and the law that establishes every government entity is clear on what you're supposed to be doing. So you got to be implementing what the law says. But because of the age of the different laws creating the different ministries and agencies, we're in a modern era. Don't forget when the act establishing the Ministry of Information was passed, we were now in the new media age where every citizen is a journalist, where in seconds, misinformation can spread to billions of people on using the different social media platforms. That was not the case. So yes, while it is true that the law establishing the entity says what we're supposed to be doing, and that is the principal guiding factor of the work we do, we have to adjust to the contemporary situation as we have them. And that's why the need for a communication strategy is paramount. It's something that regime after regime has been talking about. Don't forget, I worked at the Ministry of Information before. I remember when I was Deputy Minister for Public Affairs, we developed a comprehensive communication strategy with the help of some international actors. And a presentation was made at Cabinet. And everybody were clapping and impressed with the content and substance of the communication strategy. But guess what? As soon as the framers announced what the cost of implementing that project would be, that was the end. So that's part of the problem. The communication is not cheap. You run a radio station here. I'm sure if Eugene sits here and try to explain to you what is required to run this radio station. Sometimes I listen to the radio, I hear your off station on this side is down, this one is down, because to do all of these things require real resources. I've heard the president tell Eugene he wants to have a television station in every county. It means he's concerned about effective communication, but guess what? The way to do it is where the catch always is. Because I'll give you an instance. We have a new national budget, and when that budget was formulated, the Ministry of Information was giving 2.8 million. But 2.1 of the 2.8 covers.
I mean, that's add-on, or is it the entire?
It's a total. It's a total.
2.1?
2.8.
2.8.
But 2.1 of the 2.8 is just personnel costs. That the money they use to pay people's salary. So what does that mean? 700,000 remaining. 700,000 can't even run the ministry for 5 months. So during the process of the legislature taking seats of the budget, we reach out to them. Imagine the ministry is Ministry of Information, Culture Affairs, and Tourism. After you remove that personnel cost, there's no budgetary allotment for the cultural department, none for tourism. But tourism is a pillar under the arrest agenda. So we pleaded with our honorable people to say, no, this is impractical. And they found a way to add additional 400,000, and of the 400,000, they said 200 of that was a tourism development. Tourism is a pillar of the agenda of the new administration. 200,000 could be.
I mean, simply because there's a bill already in line for tourism to stand on its own.
Until it happens, the way agencies are created is not. It's not the way you see it. That bill establishing the National Tourism Authority may not see a functional National Tourism Authority maybe until the next budget year or even the following. There's so many things that are required beyond the law that will just be over there. So until then, tourism is a program. And a lot of people have taken interest in it. I was just in Nimba yesterday to launch a new eco lodge after we did the first one in Cape Mount. We intend to spread that across the country. So nobody waiting for the establishment of National Tourism Authority before we do that, because until the authority is established, that's a function of the Ministry of Information, Culture Affairs, and Tourism. So I was just saying we're working towards a strategy, but the truth also is at the end of the day, that strategy will be very costly. And that's where the problem always is, because if the strategy is developed and you cannot provide the cost to implement it, then it's needless having one.
But Minister, I suppose chief amongst the strategy here is to have a synergy in government's communication. But over the years, we've seen a semblance of government communication being not synergized, distortion, especially the whole talk about yellow machine, all that. The kind of way it was done, and also the rice issue, and people yet to understand exactly what is the government's approach. We're seeing the setting up of committees towards, rice, with that policy wise, but the communication towards getting the people understand where the government stands on these particular issues has been a problem.
I'm not sure it's a problem as you said it. And if it's a problem as you said it, then you're also a part of it. The reason why state radio exists until you make it a public broadcaster is for you to help to bridge that communication gap that you're talking about. It's not just about the super morning show. You're supposed to run language programs. There should be different layers of programs to get what needs to be explained to the people out there. And I know one of the things that were very effective in the past was the language program here at ERBC. Not everybody listens to English. Not everybody will listen to even what you do.
We have a language radio.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So if you firmly believe that even with all these structures you have, that there is this issue, then it means everyone, including what state radio does, has to be in the adjustment mood.
But you're the chief architect of the communication. That's my point.
Well, I don't know where you get in. Chief architect doesn't mean that the other layers don't do their work. That's not what chief architect means. And it also mean that you are not with your own autonomy. I don't run ERBC. Yes, I'm the chair of the board. The role of a board is not to interfere with the day-to-day running of any entity. The management team does. All right, but we can provide some guardians. So this concept of chief architect, chief this that's not how communication is handled. They provide you guardians, but you got to do what you're supposed to do to fill whatever you think the gap is. And I think the team is doing a great work. Kula is I mean, there needs to be some kind of further coordination, but you can't downplay people when they're doing their utmost best. Kula is trying her best. Eugene and his management team are trying the best. At the Ministry of Information, we're doing a good deal that has never happened before. Don't forget that I worked in that ministry before. 1 time a week was always enough for the ministry to speak to the public. We're doing this sometimes 3 times a week. We've reintroduced the newspaper, and I don't know whether ERBC is even promoting that newspaper. If you have any show,
we are. Our commentaries are being.
We've relaunched that newspaper, and it's not the newspaper is not interested in politics. As everybody who's seeing copy, it's just honestly communicating what the people got to know, and it's not an executive focused newspaper. If you look at it, look at the stories that have come out, the legislature, the judiciary, even private sector information are being relayed. And for the first time in the existence of the Ministry of Information, we are launching the new Liberia magazine beyond the newspaper, which will be produced on a quarterly basis. The first maiden edition is in print. It's coming out in a matter of days. I don't want to say weeks, in a matter of days. That's new. So people are not sitting down folding their hands. And I said from the beginning, part of the problem for which the president made that utterance at the commissioning ceremony is being eager to compliment whatever is happening. Sometimes people speak across the board, but it doesn't mean the communication triangle doesn't have a synergy in this place, which is E-Mansion Press, LBS, and the Ministry of Information. That's happening pretty well. Of course, you couldn't just grab people and beat them at the butt and say, don't talk. But now that it's a policy position by the president saying you're not going to run my government on talk shows, you're not going to run it on Facebook, you got to liaise with the Ministry of Information. Everyone is the reason why we even have press conference 3 times a week, most times, is because everybody now interested in using the platform to tell the story. Okay. I mean, how best can one do it? You can say Minister of Information, true. He will be the one to generally communicate. But there's nothing wrong with, say, Agriculture Ministry, you come. Use the platform that has been created by the Information Ministry. Because the way you will talk about the things you're doing, because it's your area of expertise, it's not the same way the Ministry of Information will talk about it. The way Roland Giddings will come and talk about roadworks and other infrastructure development program, I could say something about it, but it would not be the same. The way the Minister of Health, for example, could come and talk about interventions in the health sector will not be the same as I would do as Information Minister, because it's not my area of expertise. So that's why we thought to say, okay, what can we do that would make it more effective? Make our platform the national platform to doing so, and encourage the folks to come right here. And you can complement that by making sure that as they leave the MICAT platform, they're here with you, talking about the same things, and making sure that your language people are able to take excerpts, important excerpts that they can put into their language news or language commentary or whatever, that our people in the interior who don't speak or hear the English well, we also follow. That's just the approach. And I think it's happening.
Just tell us what would change if that strategy that is being developed, when it gets into effect. What do we see?
What should change is most of the things we want to do currently, we're just doing it in a way that we can manage. They're not being funded. What would change is that if you have a strategy and the government agrees to fund the strategy, it means some of the things that you're supposed to do that you can't even do effectively because the associated cost is not there will be done better. Say, for example, what we want to develop is a national government communication strategy, not a Ministry of Information strategy. If the strategy calls for what can be done to ensure that all your stations are every time working, that's one thing. If the government approves that, it means the government will provide the funding needed for you to do so. That would be a change.
I'm kind of confused there, Minister. If you say inclusive of the government, we'll have 2 branches, and you have to respect the the separation of power here.
Have you not followed this administration, the Ministry of Information, speaking for all three branches of government? We went for confirmation hearing. They confirmed us. And one of the things we told them is that we want to speak. You have Minister of Information of the Republic of Liberia. The Republic of Liberia is not the executive. It encompasses all of the different three separate but coordinated. That is the reason why you see what they have are those other entities, other communication director or something, because the Minister of Information surpasses everyone. And so if the legislature, it was the government's deliverables, or what was the performance of the government? When the judiciary is perceived of not doing the right thing, who do they blame? They blame the judiciary. All the things people thought that was happening in the other branches of government during President Weah's time. Wasn't it weird that President Weah, everybody were blaming it? If the judiciary is not working, if things are not happening in terms of how we coordinate with the legislature to keep the country running, in the end they will blame the president. Because he's the president of the Republic of Liberia, despite the fact that there are three branches of government, but there's one government. So the Ministry of Information thought through that, look, we can speak for them. Recently you heard when all the bombardment was taking place about how they spent 700,000, something that does not make any sense. The first group of people, after having consultation and conversation with them, that came to respond to that was the Minister of Information. It was me at our press conference. Because you can't sit by and say, okay, but they're talking about the legislature. And I'm not doing it. They're giving a false narrative about the legislature that has bearing on the entire government. So I could not have sat down and allowed them to, I mean, certain things, maybe we'll get to it later, but so if you're taking note, no, we're not just read the New Liberia, and I was asking whether you're even giving the attention. The stories that are there now about President Piah, Jeremiah Kuhn, the executive, no, the stories that are there are about all three branches of government because they're doing wonderful things. And until somebody helps to communicate it effectively, nobody knows. But if nobody knows what they're doing, you think it's about them? It's about the whole of government, headed by President Piah. So we have tried to change that approach.
Minister, the government's 100 days have ended. The first 100 days, followed by deliverables. There is continuity in some of the projects, let's say for roads, for example, or some agriculture. What's happening now ahead of the full implementation of the arrest agenda? What's happening now?
So when the government says in 100 days we'll do this, which is normal, is conventional all across the world, it's a pace-setting period. But when somebody asks what's happening now, I will let it bring it back to you. 100 days are over. What's happening at LBS?
Minister, I get to answer
what's happening at LBS? The reason why I'm asking that question is because you have your core function manuals. Whether you had a 100-day deliverable, 300 days deliverable, 5,000 years deliverable, you have a core function as a state entity established by law. What is happening here is that your core function continues. The Ministry of Information, for example, has its core functions. What is happening now?
Across government.
Just hold on.
National government.
Hold on. The LBS and all the people are giving example, they are part of national government. National doesn't mean that something that is in vacuum. It's a combination of all the different structures of the government that makes it national. So Ministry of Health, hospitals are still running. They need medicine. Doctors need to be paid. Some need ambulance. Education, schools are about to close. They will be open. Some of them need chairs. They need all the instructional materials. Some need physical renovation of the dilapidated state of their buildings. Those are what is happening now. Public Works, Ale Brove, a few weeks ago, to just pass through and come to town to go to where was a difficult thing. 100 days deliverable period finish, interventions are being made. Those roads are getting more better and more pliable. That's what is happening now. What is happening now in terms of security? The police is still doing their work to provide.
Maybe I need to be specific.
Life and property.
Minister, maybe I need to be specific. spending entities, ministries, agencies, what we call the max commissions, are they getting disbursement now from the national budget?
How you think we're running, my man?
No, people say the budget is not public yet. So what's happening?
The budget, once the budget, I mean, if the budget is not public, that's a different thing. But if the budget is passed by the national legislature and signed by the president, it gets to execution. But even
do we know why it's not public?
Maybe we need to talk to the Ministry of Finance. They are the custodian of the budget, and on our open
budget initiative,
open government or open budget initiative that we had. It has normally been the practice that the Ministry of Finance makes it public, and I'm here from you that it's not public.
No, so I mean, a couple of people have checked their website.
So you need to call them. Yeah, you need to call them. Yeah, that's what you're here for. You state radio. Call the Minister of Finance. Call his deputy for budget. Let's have the conversation. And they've been twice back to back at the Ministry of Information. All the press both said, and then nobody raised an issue that the budget was not public. They were just there after the president announced the steering committee to formulate a new national development agenda. They were there, and they made a brilliant presentation. Nobody raised that question, but we all will find out. But yes, we have a budget that is known in terms of the figure and it's been executed. That's how we're running our ministries and agencies. Even though some of us, what we have to get there is tough, but that's what we have, and the entity still got to run. Even in the midst of that, we just doing what we can do. Varflay, you are generally, before you could sit in this place, you know what it means if you took your microphone and went to press conferences. You have some expectations. So when people come into those press conferences, we know about those expectations. When I'm engaging the private media, it's not a free work. That's not a work. Right? So everything we do, even to run the newspaper, which is 3 times a day, a week, sorry, not a day, 3 times a week. It has been consistent. And for as long as I'll be the Minister of Information, my hope is that it will come out every time, 3 times a week. So maybe ELBC is doing some wonderful things here. You get communication soon. Advertise some of the things that you want to do, because that's the state media outlet. You got to utilize it. Let's do some advertisement in there. So a lot is happening, but I just didn't want to dwell on those things, because one of the reasons that we came here is the barrage of misinformation that is peddling, that people doing so intentionally, so much so that some are destroying their own integrity. For example, I think 3, 4, 5 newspapers out of the blue sky said strange things, unprecedented. Those are some of the headlines. BB Wars. Former Chief Justice Gloria Scott granted compassionate leave. And you're sitting down as the spokesperson of the government, you know that there's no degree of truth in this, and serious newspapers you consider serious are running with it as headlines. One of them, through WhatsApp, sent it to me, and then my reply immediately was, you feel comfortable allowing your media entity to be intentionally involved in misinformation? And that person did not respond. But then today, the person paper says, Councillor Scott returns to prison after short compassionate leave. And then I look at that person and say, what are you up to? Who's pushing you into destroying your institution? First of all, she was never granted anything called compassionate leave.
So where did the news come from?
Then we need to ask these newspapers that have been publishing that, because that did not happen. Even the exercise that should have taken place, which is, and I would like to talk about that. Councillor Scott had been in prison. Her home was burglarized. And when homes are burglarized, things are taken away. If somebody burglarizes my home, it is me who can give an account of what was in it, so that I can give a picture of what was taken away. Police had some stock. And the lady was saying, look, so the only person who can figure out properly what got missing from my place is me. So probably you got to arrange it. Take me there. We take stock, and I come back the same day. But up to the point they were publishing all their story, that has not happened. That was the proposal. The prison authorities were contacted. They had a cost implication to doing that because it required all kinds of things, security, this, that. Don't forget, it's somebody who is in prison or like that. So the Justice Ministry said, yes, we can provide what that cost implication is to meet all of the requirements. It has not even happened. And then somebody runs all over the place, somebody is in compassionate leave.
But are there plans by the government to grant her compassionate leave?
There is no, absolutely not. And maybe you didn't listen to her. The media entity should open their ears because she herself, beside what the government is doing, has been able to reply. And she has some very strong words for some of the newspapers that were involved. And she said her goal is to get justice for Musu. And the way to get justice, in her view, is not anything called compassion. She wants to see the legal process reach its conclusion. So a lower court convicted her. There are processes, there are steps ahead. It is those steps that she and everybody associated with her, including the government, waiting for.
But would it be a bad thing to grant her compassionate leave?
I'm not discussing whether it's bad. Your question was, is there any intent? I said, no. The legal process must be exhausted. The legal process, in places where you... And I have an example. My friend Romney, when he was in court with Chris Toole, he was in prison. He was sick. He was granted compassionate leave. I don't know how old you were at that time, but it landed the justice minister at the time in trouble. If you were in the media, then you would have known. But if you were not there, then probably you didn't know. It landed her in serious trouble. So she was taken to court. The lower court has ruled. Her people have raised what the next step should be, consistent with the law. Those processes will go on. And she herself wants those processes to go on. But for some reasons, people want to. But again, like you said, even if she was granted compassionate leave, if it is consistent with the law, then that's it. But the thing is, no, that did not happen. That has not happened. That is not a plan. And Councillor Scott and her people look forward to the next stage of the legal process. And they have their own level of confidence as to what the end will be. Because when somebody grants you compassion, it means that, okay, Varflay did this thing and we're just feeling sorry for him. They don't want that. So they've never asked for it. So that's totally amazing. But the point is, Chief, as misleading as that is, people have published it. People try to be constant with it and come by and say, after a short stay of compassionate leave, she returns to prison. Something that did not happen. Media, you're the media people, that's something you call ABC, right? How you call it?
Yeah.
Accurate.
Yeah,
balance.
Credible.
If somebody was not granted compassionate leave, you say they were granted, it's not accurate. It's misinformation. It's away from your media ethics. If a media entity is bent on telling lies, your credibility is gone.
But did you read the story? What was attributed to?
Government grant compassionate leave. Why is it? You don't have to read the whole book.
So why would a media entity misquote the government or attribute the story?
Misquoting. The government did not make any claim or any pronouncement considered that was misquoted. It was an imaginary story from wherever it's supposed to come from, being run. How many media entities you have, your radio stations, you know what they are? Yeah, a few persons were doing it. Maybe there's some motivation behind it. Because that story will be big and the whole media landscape will run with it. So the fact that it's a select group of people who were doing it, maybe they were on a mission for something. What that does, it destroys your credibility. We want to work with the media. I've always said to the media, you have free space. I have my first general meeting with the entire media landscape, media owners. And some people were surprised. They thought we'd pick and choose. Everybody was there. Everybody. Whether it was freedom, whether it was dick, everybody was there. Because We want to create this space for everyone. Under my leadership and under the leadership of President Bouaka, we want to enhance the media space. We want to give them that freedom. But at the same time, people cannot be intentional about telling lies. People cannot be intentional about doing things that maybe he has the motive to incite. People cannot be intentional about falsehood. If Varflay does X and you report that Varflay has done this, that's it. That's what you did. But if Varflay 39 years Hindu, then somebody get us say Varflay rape or 9-year-old get something that never happened. You will be concerned as to what is the motivation behind the person putting the kind of crime on me that did not happen.
Minister, he said that Councillor Scott is determined to see the case.
That's what she said. Not me speaking for her. I think she had an interview.
She said that she wants the case come to a logical conclusion. Is the government also interested to seeing the case come to a logical conclusion?
The case is before court. It's not the executive. It's not the executive's business to determine how that case ends. The judicial system will have their own schedule. They will have their plans. They do so without interference from the executive. And the reason why she said it is she knows that the court, the matter is still before. It's still going through different stages of the legal process. Don't forget, she's a former chief justice. She's a former justice minister. She's somebody who is a part of that terrain. All right. So she knows what is that. That's why you are not seeing her saying anything to the executive. You are not seeing her like other people do blaming the executive management for doing this. She believes the legal process is unfolding, and I think she respects the fact that she and her legal team, who believe that whatever the initial ruling is, they believe it's not what it should be. They are doing what they're supposed to do, and the executive is not interested in aborting that kind of process.
Okay. This is the Super Morning Show. My guest this morning is Information Minister Jerolinmek Piah.
So from this side, you guys are now on TV? You on TV?
Yeah, we're on TV.
Oh, I didn't know. This small one?
Yeah, this one will carry you live on LNTV Facebook Live. Yeah, but Minister, that's that for the clarification on the Gloria Scott issue. I know you've been reading about.
I don't know what I want to call it clarification, sir, because it didn't exist. So.
No, but you clarified something. You've read about the resignation of one of the asset recovery team's members, somebody who also helped to bring the government to power, Martin Colley, who said that he's gone back to activism and he will hold the government accountable. First of all, can you respond to the resignation? Can you also respond to his allegation that the asset recovery team is not working? It hasn't recovered any asset, any penny, but yet they've been paid, and he doesn't see that successful until the replacement of the chairman, Councillor Edward Martin.
So I don't have
it has to do with the fight against corruption.
I don't have a reaction to somebody's resignation. He's a citizen of the Republic who has his own right. He was asked to do a piece of job. He agreed. If along the way he believed his services are not needed there anymore, and he decides to get away, this is right. It doesn't call for any debate. It doesn't call for anybody even responding to him. All I can say as a young brother who I know very well, who I got some respect for, is that I wish him well in his future endeavors. I have not followed. I don't make it my business following what every private citizen will want to do. But because the structure is a government structure, so I'm aware that he has indicated that he has resigned. And I'm sure the president accepts his resignation. And what I can say to him, I wish him well in his future endeavors. You just quoting, I didn't hear that you quoting him that he's back to activism. I wish him well as an activist. And the question of holding the government feet to foot of the fire is not something we have issue with. Just yesterday, when auditors tried to help us to know what wrongs were being done, they died under mysterious circumstances. today, the LACC, we are even aiding them to do their work. They've come and say, oh, Joseph Walker, government, he appointed 575, but nobody am there. In fact, the next thing we did, we called them and say, come use the Ministry of Information platform to talk more about your work. We've been in touch with the Auditor General. We want him to come. He has said to us they're doing a couple of things. As soon as those things are concluded, they will come. We're giving them the space to do their job. And that's what we want to do. So people should hold us accountable. And if the brother says, I'm going to activism and I will hold the government feet to the fire, it's his choice. It's something that we encourage. Because, you see, if I'm sitting down here and I believe that everything is just right, but some things are not right and nobody dares talk about it, Varflay, I will keep doing the same wrong thing, believing that it's okay and nothing is right. So when people say they're holding the government feet to the fire, when they do all the criticism and whatever it is, we listen. We see the real ones from the unrealistic ones, and we take all the positive inclinations from those criticisms. If we know that that criticism is in the right direction, something is wrong, we take that and we improve upon it. That's how government works. The biggest democracy in other places in the countries that are trying to flourish democratically, that's why they're making progress. Are you not following? I'm not talking about years back, but currently, are you not following what's happening in the United States, for example? They're worse than you and I. They're worse than you and I. But at the same time, I think it helps in a country where everybody that's thinking kumbaya or hallelujah, and not yet.
Cool singer. Anyway,
yes, I
want to bring something to your attention. Let's go to the University of Liberia. I'm going to read this.
But just before we go to the university, let me ask you this question. On your own, without any noise, anybody making any noise, somebody want to tell you that 30 people who have retreat and they spend 700,000. You know what 700,000 is, right?
I don't want.
No. I don't
want to rent a verdict.
Not verdict.
Yeah, because I don't have facts.
No, it's not verdict.
So what expenditure?
They want to try to ask you now. Just come on, retreat. 30% retreat.
There are retreats, but there are luxurious retreats too.
Where you can retreat to Grand Bassel?
So I don't.
Maybe you take the retreat to Paris or Kamara. Even when you carry the retreat to Paris and back, you're not even specific. But the point I was making, Varflay, sometimes when people make accusations, beyond looking into the detail of it, just on the surface, sometimes we got to ask ourselves the hard question: who spends 700,000 for retreat?
Let's see vouchers.
Who spends?
Let's see receipts from expenditures.
So who brings that?
I mean, those who held the retreat.
No, you see, that's where you get it wrong. If you tell me that I killed somebody and you take me to court, it's not for me to come and prove to you that I killed. You say I killed. So those who made those accusations, I guess they made those accusations based on what they say are pieces of evidence they have.
Maybe open government can be considerate of coming forward.
So the person say, okay, no, but let's put it this way. No, let's put it this way.
An open government.
Let's put it this way. You say I did this, I say I didn't do it. Is it not upon you to establish or to provide evidence to the public?
Don't be dismissive of those kinds of allegations. I view the evidence and put to bed the government or the legislature or the Senate.
That's why we spoil things.
I'm trying to put
if you carry a man to court, the man does not have evidence. You who making the charges against the person. So they have had a response. They say this is preposterous. This makes no sense. It didn't happen. That's what they said. That's their response. You gotta tell us to bring.
And the other side may think that the clarification that they've made is not back.
So you prove it to the public by saying everything we said, all the accusations we made, these are the facts. Okay. That's what you do.
Okay. So like I was saying, let's go to the University of Liberia. I mean, something is happening there. I don't know if you know about it, because the University of Liberia Faculty and Staff Association has issued this press statement, and I'm going to read it as it is. The University of Liberia Faculty and Staff Association convened a combined emergency General Assembly on Friday, June 14, 2024, at the hour of 12 midday and made decisions on issues affecting their welfare. The leadership and members of FASI being wary of the repeated promises and failures of the UL administration to address concerns of their welfare, decided to disengage from all administrative and academic activities on all campuses of the University of Liberia. So in essence,
there is
nothing going on teaching at the University of Liberia. Is the government aware of that?
There's also, but that's why I was going to ask you. Do you guys at all pay attention to the Executive Mansion and Ministry of Information websites? So there's an Executive Mansion press release with regards to what is happening at the UL. Have you seen it?
I read that.
Yeah, can you read it again for the public? Can you read the other one?
In the interim, people are not going to school at the UL. That's the point. I read the Executive Mansion press statement about the president.
Yeah, so in the interim, people got concerned and they say they're not going to classes, but they're not doing so blaming the government, the central government for anything. They have issues at the university, and the reason why I was trying to refer to the Executive Mansion press release. The Executive Mansion press release says the president is seized of the matter, and the president has made some appeal to the faculty to return to school while he does what is supposed to be done. He has also announced they have had a lot of problems with Sawolo Nelson, and the president, that release also said the procedure and processes that are required in recruiting a new leadership team at the university is being initiated. So it means that, they have problem with this administration. But that release, the government is already saying, yes, we have already initiated a process to derive a new leadership team for the university. That's step one towards resolving the problem they have. It is the administration. But they themselves, and I respect most of the guys, they are friends, colleagues, they are aware of the processes that are required to do these things. So it is because of that the president is at the same time saying to them, let's return to status quo ante, let the university run for the good of our kids, because some of the things you're concerned about, we've already seized of those matters and we will resolve them. And our hope is, we hope they listen. We hope they listen, because when these things happen, I was a student at the university. You see, Varflay, let me tell you something that you may not know. When you go to an institution of higher learning, it's either 4 or maximum 5 years to get a first degree, right? It's more to 10 years to get a first degree. Because when the university was reopened after the war in 1989, there was a problem. The problem was, when the university, by that time, I was an active student leader, and that was something that we were confronted with every academic year. When we run one semester, and we close for that semester, for school to open at war. By the time it opens and we go back to school, before we end one academic year, at two calendar years or more. So everyone who was in the university during that period, they spent at least 10 years, some 9 years maybe, to get a degree that you should be getting in. You know when that changed? When President Selig brought the late Dr. Dennis. I hope I'm not making a mistake. I hope I'm still living and not killing him. Dr. Dennis?
Emmett Dennis?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's that.
Okay, so then I'm not killing him prematurely. So when President Selig brought Dr. Dennis started running 3 semesters in one annual year. And some of the people who have overstayed like us, they started graduating. And since that period, the university has been striving, even though with many challenges. So that opportunity that our students started having, they didn't suffer what we suffer. Taking 10 years to get a bachelor is something we want to see continue. But at the same time, we as a government, plus the administration, must continue to do those things that will keep it going. So when the faculty say they have problems, we don't come down on them wanting to criticize them. We pay attention to the problems that they say they have, and then together we all find a solution to it. That's how a responsible government conducts itself, and that is how the Joseph Boakai government will conduct itself. The government is seized of that matter. The president is making the interventions that are required as visitors to the university. And we are hopeful that we find a common ground, the situations, issues they have will be resolved, and our students will have the opportunity to sit in classes and learn.
Minister, before we take calls, couple of investigations and funding pending.
Yeah.
AFL, B Mountain, LDEA. What's happening with them?
So the investigations we have are even far above that. But you see, it's not about just beating the drum in the media. One of the pillars that brought President Boubacar to power is his verge towards holding people accountable. Too many things happen in this country. And some of the people, when they speak in the right, I listen to one former government official, and I don't normally agree with him on many things he says, but in that case, I agree with him. You see, when we're in power, people say, I did plenty of things. Everything they say, I did it. And I'm in power again. You're in power. I want to be prosecuted. What is not understood is that to prosecute people, there are steps. But the most important of the different steps you take is if I want to carry you to court, I got to be sure, Chief, that I have all of the evidences to link you to what I'm carrying you to court for. Those processes are on. You see, the GSC, the people at the GSC, they're not running their activities in the public, but we are privileged to a lot of ongoing audits meant to hold people accountable. The LACC similarly. The CSA has done a lot of investigation with regards to what happened with our public sector, how people were dumped into it, how the government is spending millions on people who do not exist, who don't work in the public sector. The CSA have been doing a great job. The last time I spoke to the Director General, and they will come to the Ministry of Information to do that, they are on the verge, Varflay, of giving you an outcome that you'll be shocked. But they will not just give that outcome, they will be recommending a good number of people coming from different marks, ministries, agencies, and corporations for prosecution, for aiding the defrauding of the government through payroll partling and other things that cost the country millions. So I'm saying this to say those are all part of accountability processes that are ongoing. The ones that you made specific references to, you said what? B Mountain?
B Mountain, DEA, LDEA.
Didn't you see the B Mountain report that came from the police? Then they forwarded it to the Ministry of Justice.
Is it public?
You didn't see that? Yeah, it was public. It was all over social media everywhere.
Okay.
DEA, it's been looked into, but whatever took place was in a full public glare because some of the actors who did it say it was good for you to know, so they recorded it. But there will be actions on DEA very soon.
How soon is it? Very soon?
Very, very soon. In fact, one of the things I know, but for some reason it changed, when we arrived from Korea, some action should have been announced. But I think there was a second thought to just sift up through certain things, but it will soon be announced. There will be some action at DEA. So that's how much I can say.
Okay. Lastly, can you announce indictment for sanctioned past government officials?
No, I cannot announce it because what I've seen,
or confirm, let me say,
I cannot confirm it either because what I've seen is just newspaper publication to that effect.
But is it imminent?
I can't even say whether it's imminent. You see, I'm the Minister of Information, but I'm not the Minister of Justice. So if I want to talk about indictment, it means I have had a conversation with the Minister of Justice and he has told me this is why it is. So yes, I have seen newspaper publications as of this morning when I was coming here. But my first job today was to come here because we agreed I will come to you. And then you see the good thing, when I come in from you, I go straight through Sinker. Where the Justice Minister office? That'll be my second assignment for today. That I will stop. And if there is any such thing, the Justice Minister will allow me to know. He will give me the details of it. then I communicate it to the public chief. That's how it works, though.
Yeah,
It not
please,
because
please let me know when you.
yeah, it not because the mail and information minister so the thing then tell you won't talk it because you won't be heard. Then sooner or later it becomes less credible. No.
Minister, let's take us. You know, I actually intend to give ample time to our people to call. People say, "Oh, because you come here, so I'll ask you softball questions."
But then ask a hard question on your behalf.
I don't know when I engage you to come on the show, you confirm. We didn't talk until now, so.
Then what do they call softball?
Good morning.
Good morning, Varflay, and good morning to our highly distinguished Minister of Information, Minister Piah.
Yep.
Varflay, yeah, this is Maurice Moses Mogai. I am the national chairman for the Baga School think tank. I call you from Jacobstown. You know, Varflay, let me appreciate you for asking all of the hard questions. And I think the minister was perfectly situated to have answered those questions. Look, Varflay, we are running highly responsible in civilized government. As such, the Minister of Information will speak to issues that he have, hardcore information about. Not like the past where everybody was just speaking. No, our own government, we will channel all of our information to the Ministry of Information so that he can be able to gain.
All right, Moses. I really want people who have alternative views to call.
Man, you gotta be fair to the man. So you encouraging people who will just be opponent.
No, Minister.
Yeah, so both. The man called up.
Good morning. Let's hear you, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah.
I'm Gordon Pole again. Pastor Pole, I called you earlier. I must commend our Minister of Information, Mr. Piah. His response to all the questions is indicative of Liberia having a new day. And Mr. Minister, I want to thank you. Continue to operate in that manner. That's why a respected and responsible government does. May God bless you all. Even as we go along the way when you err, we will tell you, but we should be respectful in expressing the ills of government, not being disrespectful. May God bless you once more.
Thank you. Noah, please, I will give you 10 seconds. Noah, Noah, don't do anything to me, man. Go ahead.
I'm a role model in studio there.
10 seconds, Chief.
It's never possible that my role model will appear and I don't call. And I want to say this. President Wakai, we have made a great mistake in not taking this kind of prudent decision. I can tell you, a question was answered beautifully and I agree him 100% this morning. And I will tell you, one wonder why we government officials like me sound like this, but I can tell you it is the satisfaction, euphoria you can get carried by. Okay. And I really admire the way you answer that indictment question you want to confirm. And I think, look, I got no regret to be your role model.
Thank you, Zao. Morning.
Thank you very much. Let me just point to some video. My name is Hussein Kewu, and I'm corporate town in District 2. Let me appreciate the guest schedule, and many thanks to you, Minister, for such a brilliant work and response. But I like the way you conversation. There are times there are other media within this country that just try to propagate the wrong message about government functions and operations. Now, like you were saying, there are media that are really top show hosts now this morning that have taken 4 or 5 hours to just discuss Gloria Scott, which of course it is not even the reality. You understand? So what I'm going to there are times you don't have to respond to some of those trust coming from some of those guys. Because if you just make an attempt to respond, definitely going to have and some of them want to gain relevant or popularity and then turn up the government.
Okay, Hussein, let's hold you there. Let's hear from this person. Morning.
Good morning, Director. How are you?
I'm fine. What's your name?
Thank you. This is BG Play. How are you?
I'm fine. Go ahead, Jipley. 30 seconds.
Thank you. Yeah, let me say good morning to the Speaker of the Republic of Liberia, meaning the Information Minister. Good morning, Minister. How are you?
Good morning.
Thank you. The Constitution and the others established the Ministry of Information. That I know of is that you are the official spokesman of the country. And all other institutions, PRO, to make sure that information do that so that it can be disseminated properly and adequately. Minister, there's something in public administration called communication is very much important. We allow all people maybe our information to us that is not fair and not proper. It will not be good for us. It will be a difficult, it will be a challenge for you. So that you can provide the information.
Thank you very much. I can take a call or two on 0770581886. Then we'll go back to the minister to wrap up from his end. 77058186. And let's wrap things up. If not, then I'll go back to the minister. Minister, you listen to the callers.
Yes. Even though the
recommendations just had Jackman line anyway.
So yeah, that's what I was coming to. Even though you wanted more critics to call, which would have been normal, because I don't just get inclined to all of the praises. We would do things differently as a government, and I just want to use this medium also to advise people. When people who were with you before that eventually got this agreement and they said they're not with you, it's not a good thing for you to see them as enemies. Because don't forget, when we said we came to rescue Varflay, those are some of the things we wanted to correct here. You had a critical opinion about the country. When you expressed it, somebody classify you as enemies of, an enemy of the state. And a group of people who just had their own thought process about how our country was going were being caught. When you are being referred to by people from government circle as an enemy of the state, you know the danger that poses to you and your well-being. We don't want to get there. Let's start seeing ourselves as being at war with people who disagree. I mean, when people who said they were with us, you can, for example, one of the persons who play a very active part in the rescue process was on one of the network the other day, and then they said something like, the 5 months of Waka administration is more corrupt than 5 months of the We administration. You got to go cussing that person or shouting at them. Just provide the imperatives that points to the fact that what the person is saying is not true. That's all you can do. You don't got to be making play with the person. Just do the analysis. Who was building condominiums in 5 months? Who had public officials who were buying houses in the first week of the administration? Who was there when just in the, I don't know how many days of the administration, 16 billion was missing? So you just list the disparities, and the people who know better will know instead of you forcing. And I said this to say, yes, this is a tent in which a lot of people are. Some may decide to leave, but others will come in. But when people leave, let's not treat them like enemies. Let wish them well in their new endeavor. I mean, I will sit here. I mean, a time could come if I say I don't want to be in a government anymore. What you do? You can't start cussing me. You just say, okay, thank you for your service to the country, and we wish you well in your new endeavor. I think that's why it should be. Great things are happening. Okay, we are in the process of working on our new development agenda. I think you are aware that our governance accountability program, which is an initiative of the Waka administration, just got 30 million USD approved by the World Bank, and that's progress. The international people see us fit, to invest their taxpayers' money in us because we're doing the right thing. The president was just in Korea. I know we didn't have the time to talk about that. I was there. Many great MOUs were signed. But our real interest is Korea is going to be spending 24 billion, which you're already aware of. And the way they're doing it is strange. Whether it's the US government, whether it's Japan, whether it's China, Korea approach is different. They say, okay, we spend 24 billion, but we want companies from our country to invest in Africa. They may not have the capital. So 14 billion of that amount will empower companies, will empower investors so that they are able to go into Africa to invest. That was one of the reasons behind the MOU that we signed, because all the companies we signed the MOU with are people will be benefiting from part of that 14 billion. Okay. Then the other 10 billion, they say we're giving it directly to each country. So for example, the president, when we had a bilateral, asked us or to present to him our plan, particularly with regards to road development. Even though generally he has committed to helping to finance the arrest agenda. But he was keen because of the case that the president may have arose. And Gideon and his team right now, as we speak, they're now waiting. They're developing the proposal.
Okay.
So if you see all of your county roads connected, all of your capitals connected before President Bouaga leave power, don't be surprised. The international goodwill is there. The government is respected. We've restored our international image, and we'll make use of it. And take this from me. We're not far from having Compact 2. Compact 2 is an intervention from the Millennium Challenge Corporation. The first time we got Compact in this country was 257 million. That's how we built a hydro and did some other energy-related program. Compact 2 will give us around 400 to 500 million.
Okay.
It will be a game changer. And for those who appear to be impatient and in a hurry, you have a leadership that is focused, that is determined, that I will deliver. You will judge this regime not by 4 months, not by 3 months. Today we can sit down and judge the real administration because they have 6 months. 6 months finished, right? If you rush into judge the administration in 2-3 months, you're making a big mistake, because by the time we exhaust the 6 years we are here for, Bouaga will be the greatest legacy president of our country. Thank you for having me here today.
Thank you very much. Minister of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism, Jerolinmek Piah, be my guest. Join me tomorrow for another presentation. My name is Varflay Kamara. Bye-bye.